Orcas, the dark intelligence of the ocean. Chapter 1, the apex predator that thinks. There are predators that hunt with strength. Others hunt with speed. Some hunt with numbers. But orcas hunt with intelligence. They are not just the apex predators of the ocean. They are strategists, teachers, and decision-makers. An orca does not attack impulsively. It observes. It plans. It remembers. In the wild, there has never been a documented case of an orca killing a human. Think about that for a moment. A creature strong enough to tear apart great white sharks. A creature that rules every ocean on Earth, yet chooses restraint. That alone tells us something unsettling. Orcas are not driven by instinct alone. They are driven by choice. They recognize individuals. They distinguish boats. They identify patterns in human behavior. And when they act, they do so with intention. Researchers have observed pods altering hunting strategies mid-attack, communicating complex plans through clicks and whistles. Some pod hunt seals by creating artificial waves to wash them off ice floes, a behavior taught from generation to generation. This is an instinct. This is culture. Each pod has its own language, its own traditions, its own diet. Some eat only fish. Others eat seals. Others hunt whales larger than themselves. An orca born into one pod cannot simply join another. It wouldn't understand the language. It wouldn't know the rules. From the very beginning, one truth becomes clear. Orcas don't just live in the ocean. They belong to something bigger. And once you understand that, the tragedy that follows becomes impossible to ignore. Chapter 2, Families that Never Break. An orca calf is never alone. From the moment it is born, it is surrounded by family, mothers, aunts, siblings, and elders who will remain together for life. Unlike most mammals, orcas never leave their mothers. Males stay with their mothers until death. Females lead, teach, and guide. This bond is so strong that when a mother dies, adult offspring have been observed falling into depression, refusing to hunt, and slowly starving. In 2018, the world witnessed something that shocked even seasoned marine biologists. A female orca known as Tahlequah lost her newborn calf shortly after birth. Instead of letting the body sink, she carried it for 17 days, over 1,000 miles. She pushed the lifeless calf through the water, lifting it repeatedly to the surface, refusing to let go. Scientists called it grief, but grief doesn't fully capture it. This was mourning. This was love expressed through endurance. Other members of the pod took turns helping her, diving beneath the calf to keep it afloat so she could rest. No one trained them to do this. No instinct demanded it. It was a choice. And that choice reveals something uncomfortable. Orcas feel lost the way we do. They don't move on. They don't forget, which raises a dangerous question. What happens when humans interfere with families that never break? Chapter 3, The Mind Beneath the Surface. An orca's brain is not just large. It is complex. Certain regions associated with emotion, empathy, and social awareness are more developed than in humans. Their brains contain specialized structures linked to deep emotional processing. This explains behaviors that defy logic. Orcas have been seen protecting other species, shielding seals from sharks, guiding injured dolphins, even assisting humans lost at sea. Why? There's no evolutionary advantage. They do it because they understand suffering. They recognize distress. They respond to it. In captivity, this intelligence becomes a curse. An orca in the wild may swim up to 100 miles a day. In captivity, it circles a concrete tank the size of a bathtub compared to the ocean. Their sonar, designed to echo through vast waters, bounces back violently from tank walls, overstimulating their brains. Imagine being locked in a small room, with your own voice screaming back at you endlessly. Over time, captive orcas develop collapsed dorsal fins, something almost never seen in the wild. They grind their teeth on metal gates until nerves are exposed. They self-harm, and then some of them snap. Not randomly, not blindly, but purposefully. The incidents that follow would force the world to confront an uncomfortable truth. When you imprison a mind like this, you don't create entertainment. You create trauma. And trauma, when ignored, eventually speaks. Loudly. Chapter 4, Captivity, when intelligence becomes a prison. There is a cruel irony in captivity. The smarter the animal, the deeper the suffering. For Orcas, captivity is not just confinement. It is psychological collapse. In the wild, an orca's life is rich with stimulation. Complex hunts, social learning, exploration, silence, distance, and choice. Every day is different. Every decision matters. Freedom is not a luxury. It is their natural state. In captivity, that world is erased. Concrete replaces the ocean. Metal gates replace open horizons. Human schedules replace instinct. Orcas are forced to perform tricks that mock their intelligence. Jumping on command, splashing crowds, waving fins like caricatures of themselves. The applause masks something darker: boredom, frustration, and sensory overload. Marine biologists describe captive orcas as mentally starving. Their echolocation, meant to travel kilometers, crashes violently back at them, over and over, day after day. The brain never rests. Imagine being blindfolded in a tiny room, screaming, and hearing your own voice slam back into your skull endlessly. That's captivity for an orca. This environment strips them of autonomy. And for a species that thrives on decision-making and social structure, the loss of control is devastating. And then come the signs: aggression toward trainers, sudden refusal to perform, self-inflicted wounds, broken teeth, abnormal behaviors never seen in the wild. These are not animal problems. They are trauma responses. And eventually, trauma demands expression. Chapter 5. The incidents the world tried to forget. For decades, the marine entertainment industry repeated the same phrase: orcas are safe. Orcas are friendly. Orcas don't attack humans. And in the wild, that was true. But captivity rewrote the rules. The most infamous case is Tilikum, captured off the coast of Iceland in 1983. Tilikum was separated from his family at a young age. He was bullied by other captive orcas, confined to a tiny holding tank at night, and used extensively for breeding. Over the years, Tilikum was involved in the deaths of 3 people. The industry called them accidents. But researchers noticed something chilling. These were not random acts. They followed years of isolation, years of forced breeding, years of confinement. In one incident, Tilikum dragged a trainer underwater and refused to release her. Witnesses described deliberate movement, control, not panic. Afterward, Tilikum was punished, isolated even further. Imagine blaming the prisoner for reacting to the prison. Other captive orcas showed similar warning signs: sudden aggression, refusal to interact, prolonged stillness at the bottom of tanks, a behavior known as logging, often linked to depression. The industry silenced trainers, restricted research access, and doubled down on marketing. But the truth leaked out anyway. And when it did, the world began to wake up. Chapter 6, Trauma, Revenge, or Something Else. Here is the uncomfortable question many are afraid to ask. Do orcas understand what is being done to them? Evidence suggests yes. Orcas remember individual humans for years. They recognize faces. They associate people with events, both positive and negative. In the wild, researchers who treated orcas with respect were later approached gently, even decades later. Boats once perceived as threats were avoided permanently. Memory shapes behavior. So when captive orcas lash out, is it rage? Is it confusion? Or is it recognition? Some scientists argue that labeling these incidents as revenge is anthropomorphic, but others push back. Because orcas don't just react. They wait. They choose moments. They target specific individuals. That requires awareness. Trauma doesn't erase intelligence. It sharpens certain instincts. In humans, prolonged trauma can lead to hypervigilance, emotional outbursts, and dissociation. In orcas, it may manifest as resistance, aggression, or withdrawal. What's clear is this: captivity doesn't make orcas dangerous. It makes danger inevitable. And as public awareness grew, fueled by documentaries, whistleblowers, and leaked footage, something shifted. People stopped asking, "Why did the orca attack?" and started asking, What did we do to cause this? That shift would change everything. Chapter 7, the documentary that changed everything. For decades, the truth about captive orcas lived in whispers. Trainers signed silence agreements. Scientists were denied access. Incidents were reframed as unfortunate accidents. Then in 2013, one documentary shattered the illusion. Blackfish. It didn't rely on shock alone. It relied on facts, on testimony, on patterns no one could deny anymore. The documentary exposed the life of Tilikum, not as a monster, but as a victim of systematic cruelty. It showed how separation, confinement, and exploitation created the very danger the industry denied. Public reaction was immediate. Attendance dropped. Sponsors pulled out. Cities began questioning marine parks. More importantly, people felt something they hadn't before. Empathy. They saw orcas not as performers, but as prisoners. And once that shift happens, it cannot be undone. Chapter 8, Orcas in the Wild, Intelligence Without Chains. In the wild, orcas reveal their true nature. Pods work together with precision that rivals military units. They develop hunting techniques specific to their region, beaching themselves temporarily to catch seals, coordinating attacks on large whales, or stunning fish with tail slaps. They teach. Calves observe elders. Mistakes are corrected. Skills are refined. And then there is play. Orcas surf waves for no reason other than enjoyment. They toss kelp onto their heads like hats. They interact with humans peacefully, sometimes for hours. No aggression. No chaos. No collapse. Freedom changes everything. This contrast forces a simple realization. Orcas were never the problem. Captivity was. Chapter 9, A New Threat, Oceans in Collapse. Even in freedom, orcas are no longer safe. Climate change is altering ocean temperatures, disrupting fish populations. Pollution poisons prey. Noise from ships interferes with echolocation. Some pods are starving. Mothers have been observed pushing weak calves for days, unwilling to let go, echoing the grief seen in captivity. The threat now is quieter, slower, more invisible, but no less deadly. Human impact reaches even the deepest waters. And orcas remember. Chapter 10, What Orcas Reveal About Humanity. Orcas force us to confront a difficult mirror. They show us what intelligence looks like without ego, what family means without condition, what trauma does when ignored. They remind us that power does not grant permission. The ocean is not ours. It is shared. And when we violate that balance, consequences follow, not out of revenge, but out of cause and effect. Conclusion, the minds that remember the sea. Orcas are not legends. They are not myths. They are living, thinking beings navigating a world humans have reshaped. They remember freedom. They remember loss. They remember us. And one day, history will remember how we treated them. The question is simple. Will we be remembered as the species that listened, or the species that learned too late? If this story moved you, share it. If it changed how you see the ocean, comment. And if you want to keep discovering the hidden intelligence of the natural world, subscribe, because some truths are too important to ignore.